What is up, party people? It's Amy, and today I want to address the idea that people are bothered by other people being transgender or transsexual. It's something I personally don't understand why it would bother you. And so I want to take a look at some of the things that I see as people's objections and kind of address those. I'm not transgender, so I'm probably not the best person to address these things. But I feel that because I'm not, right, makes me more of a valid person in some people's eyes. And so maybe I can get them to think about why they think the things they think. I don't know if this video is a good idea. I mean it with the best of intentions. This is generally the kind of conversations I would have with the people directly to me who have ideas that I feel maybe are misinformed. And so I want to do that on a broader scale. So I find that most, not all, but most hate, bigotry, that kind of thing comes from ignorance and a lack of understanding, right? So a lot of racism, not excused, but it comes from people not knowing. And same thing with, most things like homophobia, that kind of thing. It's a fear rooted in not having enough information, basically. And it's unfortunate because there's so much information out there. It's really easy to find. I have been reading about all of these things before the internet even existed. So I understood more 25 years ago why people had, this lack of knowledge and this ignorance and that kind of thing, because it was a lot of work to go to the library. It was a lot of work to weed through and read through tons of books and that kind of thing. But the internet's out there. It's easy to look up. Just Google it. But people aren't motivated to. So I'm going to do my best, which might not be good at all, to talk about why I disagree with the common points I hear against transgender people. So first of all, you can not like the idea, but it still exists, right? You can't make it go away. People are going to have gender dysphoria, whether you like it or not. And the idea is, why would it bother you to allow them to be who they are, right? We're taught from very young age, we can be whatever we want when we grow up, except certain things, I guess. Generally, the way I educate myself, and usually the kind of information I like to provide is with history, science, and math. And if I've learned anything over this last year, it's that those are not ways to reach people. So I'm not going to lean into those as much as I usually do. Because if that were even what it was about, this wouldn't be an issue, because there's already enough data, I think. So I'm just going to do surface level observations and thoughts. One of the common things that I find people have a lot of issue with is pronouns. And I kind of understand it can be confusing. There are a lot of pronouns, and more keep coming out. I know that there's some pronouns that I don't know how to pronounce. I'm dyslexic and I've only seen them written, so I'm terrified to ever have to say them, because I never want to misgender somebody. And, I never want to make it seem like I'm mocking their identity. So I mean, if that was your concern, I get it. That's nerve-wracking. It seems less like the issue, but in my experience, most of the people who have issue with the different gender pronouns are people who are very sensitive about what you call them, right? They definitely don't want to be misgendered. I don't put pronouns in my profile because to me, it's a level of intimacy I'm not comfortable with providing to the internet. Now, I'll say in this video that I am a straight female, but people don't watch my videos unless they know me. They might click on them, but they don't stick through. Whereas a bunch of people click on my Twitter account for whatever reason. And I have the luxury, I guess, of not having to fight for who I am. And I also, because I haven't had that fight, I don't care what you identify me as. I don't care if you mispronoun me because I don't have to care. And I get that that's a luxury. I do feel at times kind of like an imperfect ally because I don't want to put my pronouns there, but it's because I just don't want to share that with everybody. But that said, I have no issue trying to correctly get the pronouns of a person that I may want to talk to and for some reason talk about, because that's who they are and that's who they want to be known as. The argument that is hard to like keep track or something like that. I in some cases I get it, right? Because you don't know looking at somebody what they identify as. But at the same time, right, like there's all, like, if we're supposed to, in some cases, recognize all the different types of males.
Wait. I thought it was alpha and beta, and now sigma's the new thing. So we've got omega. Maybe sigma can go over here. We have zelta, and then delta. Is it in the camera? No, it's not. That's fine. We don't care about that. Wait, so if you're the alpha male, you're the lion, and the beta males are your lioness? I've never been a part of like a big burly group of boys before. Is it like, does the alpha male have sex with the beta males?
You can remember they, them. Another thing that I've seen that people have issue with is sports. And I know that this isn't exactly my area of expertise. I don't care that much about sports. My favorite baseball player is Joe DiMaggio. I remember in the 90s, my favorite basketball player was Charles Barkley. And I mean, I can name players because of scandals and stuff, but I don't really watch sports, and I don't really perform sports. Is that how you say it? I don't know. I used to play basketball in grade school, and I do like to shoot hoops for fun, but not at any competitive level. So I know that this is a hot topic for a lot of people, and it's interesting to me because I feel that the way the numbers are right now, and again, I'm not getting too far into math or science for this, but the amount of people who are transgender or transsexual who want to compete in professional sports is really low, right? And I know that, that there are youth sports and that's an issue for people, which when I was in high school, or no, when I was in junior high, we had a girl who wanted to join the football team as a girl. And that was a big thing, right? And she actually got on. I remember at the time, I didn't even understand what the controversy was because she was bigger than all the boys. She could have kicked all their asses, right? I grew up in an area that had a lot of farm girls at school and a lot of nerd boys. And genuinely, if you want a winning football team, you probably should have put more of the girls on there. And that's been a thing, right? Women fighting to be able to play sports at all. And, and in a lot of cases they can on their own team. And so I get that for some reason, male sports are so sacred to males that the idea of letting anybody else on the team is a whole issue. That to me is separate from the transgender argument, but I'm just saying that it's already like such a sacred, weird system that, adding any other ideas to it is just mind blowing. And then on the other side, there's the concern that all of these males will, I think the argument is basically that they're like, at least some of the arguments I've heard from Joe Rogan is that like they change genders to be able to win. Which is such an interesting idea. I mean, I try to think about it like if I have a hard time understanding a situation, I try to imagine what if I was in that scenario, right? So, and I know that my experience and who I am makes me a little bit different. So that this isn't the best way to look at it. But the way I think about it, when I think about it on a personal level, I think like I've trained for years to do whatever. And some other guy has also trained and gone through all of the work to transition, to potentially be on hormones, but still pass drug tests, like all of this stuff, you know? And I think, well, he wanted it more than I did, right? Like, I mean, that's a lot of work to physically train and to transition and to do all of this stuff is far more work than whatever I was doing. So clearly they wanted it more. So maybe they should win. I feel like in those arguments, it's difficult to get into too much because it's like the only understanding that that people have for that is Bender and Futurama.
Perfect scores! A record 5 gold medals for Coilette.
I'm great. Everybody else sucks, except that guy Bender. He's really something. Woo!
The other scenario I think of is was that the Miracle on Ice. What if that were females? And what if the Russians had a bunch of guys pretending to be women and won? Right? Like that's the other scenario I go to think about, like, you know, why people are so up in arms about it. And I don't know, have the American team do the same. What do I care? People who are going to cheat are going to cheat, right? Like it's the overall most transgender people who are genuinely transgender, are not doing it to get an edge on sports, right? There are disingenuous people who may try to use that angle to win at sports, but those are the same people who are already doping and already doing other things, injuring other players and stuff like that to try to get ahead, right? So to use the bad faith for such a small, ridiculous minority, I don't even understand how that's an argument. Let's just say that all transgender people love sports and want to compete professionally in, who cares? Let them. I mean, if look at the science, you know, sorry, I'm trying not to do the science and math thing, but like, look at, it's just weird. I feel like it's very similar to some of the arguments that we probably had when, you know, sports were segregated. And it's just a disingenuous argument of, even if some people were to be tricking people so that they could win awards for genders that they weren't birthed, it doesn't invalidate every other person who's not doing sports. It's just such an odd argument, and if that's your main concern, it's such a minority, it doesn't even make any sense. Like I think you'll be okay. So the biggest concern I've seen that people try to make laws about is bathrooms. The idea being that if transgender people use the bathrooms, then they can be creeps and do horrible things to people in the bathrooms and assault them and that kind of thing.
Think of the children. Won't somebody please think of the children?
Yeah, that's a thing that can happen, but it's less of a transgender issue than a creep issue. And so I think that people think in their heads, because the way that information is presented to them through certain outlets, right, is that, you know, and I don't agree with this, I'm saying that this is the messaging that people are getting, is that, you know, people who are gay, transgender, anything that doesn't fit within that very rigid confine, that it is in itself a perversion, right? So people hear those things, they think, pervert, those perverts are out to get me. And that's not actually the case. Again, it's that fear, the fear of not having knowledge of what's going on and how people work. The thing about creeps, especially in bathrooms, is they don't have to dress up like women to get in. They frequently don't. I used to be a dispatcher, and there was one time when I was dispatching, and we had a call from a female who was using a public, a park. It's basically a public outhouse, but like one of those large ones because it's at a park, so lots of people use it. I believe it was when she was finished, but it might have been right before she went. And she was turned around to either put the lid down or up. She saw someone looking at her because there was a dude who was hiding in the pit amongst the waste so that he could see women go to the bathroom. And I remember thinking first how disgusting that is. And if you're thinking about doing it, don't do it. It's unhealthy. It's not great. And the responders they're not going to be happy about it. But two, I was really curious about how the lighting works because I would assume once you sit down, it's pretty dark, but I've never been in there, thank God. But I just didn't understand, how, like, the payoff versus the work, right? Didn't make any sense. But it's a real thing that happened. And I went online. It's been like 10 years. Wow, I'm so old. So it's been probably about like 12 years maybe since it happened. And it was in a small town. And I wasn't sure if it made the news. So I went online to see if I could find it because I wasn't sure if anybody would believe me that the story actually happened. And I found that somebody else had done it somewhere else. Like, apparently this is a thing. And then once I found that, I tapped out, right? Like, okay, I've proven it's a thing. I don't want to find out how common this is. I don't want to look into this any further. It's already uncomfortable for me to be in a restroom like that. And I can't imagine the absolute horror of just seeing those eyes looking at you from the abyss. Oh my God. In the case for the Colorado one and the case for the one where I dispatched, nobody was pretending to be a different gender. He was just who he was. The thing is, you can find a lot of articles about dudes being creeps in bathrooms and porta potties, and it's genuinely upsetting. It's genuinely upsetting. And I'm not going to show them when I started looking it up. Because originally I was going with math and facts and history. When I started looking it up, I couldn't handle it. And I'm not saying women don't also do it.
What in the reverse Porkies is going on here?
So I'm not saying it's just a male thing, but it's mostly a male thing. Not to get into numbers, but statistically it's more common for a male to be peeping in women's restrooms, to be assaulting in women's restrooms, to be assaulting in porta potties, to be doing these horrible things than it is for a female. Very rarely is it a dude dressed as a female. Not even a transgender person, a straight dude dressed as a female. And I understand that the idea is like the security of like, well, if anyone's dressed as a female, how do you know it's that straight dude creep? Again, they get in there dressed as dudes just because there are terrible people doing terrible things doesn't mean it invalidates a whole other group of people who aren't doing anything wrong. Again, it's that misunderstanding, a lack of knowledge of what a transgender person is and what their intentions are. And to be clear, men do it to men too. So if we're looking at banning people from bathrooms, based on the information we have, we're just going to have to ban all dudes from bathrooms, right? And I think that if you look at it that way, right, the idea of banning all dudes from bathrooms, you're like, that's crazy. That won't work. You can't do that. It's the same idea, right? Not all dudes are assaulting people in any restroom. I assume most of them are not assaulting anybody in restrooms. It's the same thing for transgender and transsexual people. And if you're like, well, they should go to the bathroom that they belong in, that's also a weird thing that only is specific to them. I mean, there's the ongoing joke about how, women go into the men's room all the time because the line's too long. And I get it. I mean, it sucks when you have to pee and the line is super long. I have, in more than one occasion, been in a line that I thought was for the bathroom that was not for the bathroom. So sometimes I wait in line to go to the bathroom for no reason. And But I have used the men's room, and it's usually because I'm either not paying attention or because I'm an idiot. It's not because I have any nefarious reasons to be in there. I can't even tell you how many times I've used the men's restroom. Oftentimes because I don't even know that I'm in there. I go in because I gotta pee, right? I run in, close the stall, urinate, come out. Sometimes I see urinals, and I'm like, okay, I think I'm in the wrong one. Sometimes I see a confused dude look at me and he panics because he thinks he's in the wrong one. And then I have to be like, no. I'm in the wrong one. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Buoys. Goals. Buoys. Goals. Well, buoys don't have a gender. They're inanimate objects. But this seagull is clearly a male seagull. So buoys it is. Oh, God damn it. None of the times that I've been in the wrong bathroom have I been assaulted. And I haven't assaulted anyone while I was in there. I didn't even try to sneak a peek, right? I'm not in there for fun. I'm in there to eliminate waste because we're imperfect beings with imperfect bodies. I mean, anyway, I also know what dicks look like. Like, I've seen them. And if I haven't, I know how to look it up online. They're everywhere online. They're everywhere, basically. Looking at a dick is one of the easiest things you can do in a day. In fact, some days the trick is to not see any dicks, and that can be a struggle. So I think maybe that's why women don't sneak into the men's restroom. Overabundance. I don't find anything sexy about public restrooms at all. And my ex-husband can tell you the number of times that I cried because I dropped something unsalvageable onto a public restroom floor. I am thankful that I've never been assaulted in the right or wrong restroom. It's not a luxury every woman has. And I will say one time when I was in the wrong restroom, a dude got pissed. And I thought he was going to fight me, and I got out of there really quick. I often wonder if he was mad that I was a lady in the man's restroom, or if I was a lady in a man's restroom. That's a threat to people for some reason. Like, I might be reading into it. It could just be that it's me. I have a ton of stories about dudes, like genuine dudes, who want to fight me because I got a smart mouth. Sometimes they get mad at me, and then they step up, and then they'll look at the dude that I'm with to see, like, not even like occasionally they look to the dude I'm with to fight them. But usually it seems like they're trying to size up whether if he hits me, there's going to be a retaliation. And it's the weirdest thing. Like, do I look like, I don't know, I probably look like somebody who should get punched in the face. I get punched a lot. What are you going to do? So overall, the main thing that I find that people have an issue with transgender or transsexual people is they feel like they're getting tricked, whether it's, tricking people in sports, tricking people in the bathroom, in relationships. I think that people are scared that they would end up in a relationship with a transgender person, and I don't understand that fear. It's not a trick. That person is who they are, and if you like them, if you fall in love with them, why is that a bad thing? Why does it matter who they used to be? So let's say, for instance, I haven't, but let's say I murdered somebody. Let's say I murdered a bunch of people, and I didn't disclose that when getting into a relationship. People would be less upset about that than if it turned out I had a different gender assigned at birth than I actually was, which is weird because in one case, the murdering case, I'm hurting a lot of people. And in the other case, I'm not. The thing about people disclosing whether they're transgender or not is there is a high risk of them getting hurt or killed for doing it. So if you don't want to be tricked and you want people to tell you, and it shouldn't be an expectation. We have too much focus on people's genders and sexualities, and I have a whole other thing about that. But if you want people to be more open about it, then you need to create a world where they're comfortable and safe to share that information, and that's not there. So maybe they are going to end up tricking you, but it's the only way that they can survive. I don't understand how you can be a feminist and not also be a champion for trans rights, because we're basically all fighting the same fight, although in different areas. We have politics that dictate what kind of health we can get, where and when. Issues with sports, right? How hard has it been for women to, we still can't play on men's sports teams. There's still not female baseball, right? I mean, there's a league of their own. Remember how excited everyone was about female baseball then? Where's that excitement now? We still get assaulted using restrooms. We get assaulted outside of restrooms. The weird thing too is that when we talk about trans people, usually the thing that you're thinking is somebody who went from male to female. But there's a whole bunch of other people who've gone from female to male. They're all valid. They all exist. They all deserve love just like the rest of us. Bad people are bad people regardless of their gender identity. And I just want you to think, why is this upsetting me? Why does it bother me that somebody I don't know is identifying as a gender they weren't born as? How does it affect you? We all grew up in times where it wasn't really well accepted to be gay or to have a different gender. So I always make it clear to my partner that, if those are roads that they end up going down, I will support them and love them. And it'll change the relationship, but I would support them. And that's the most personal it should get, right? Is if the partner you're with goes through that journey. I think the only time it should affect you that somebody may be transgender, transsexual, is if they are actually a part of your family, a part of your life. And I don't know why, if somebody you love is going through something like that, you wouldn't want them to feel loved and supported. I think if you want to have an opinion about transgender people, their rights, then you need to learn about them. Until you do, right, like actually learn about them, learn the numbers, learn the science, learn the history, you don't know what you're arguing. And I know that that's such a popular fucking thing to do these days, is to just start an argument about something you don't know anything about. But when it comes to actually taking steps to affect people's lives, you have the duty to get the information and find the correct information. I get that there's so many things to learn about so many people, and it's hard. I know, because I read a lot and I try to learn these things, and so I understand the work that goes into it. And I know that, you think that you're getting information from a source that you trust, and you may trust that source, but I would ask in any case where someone is telling you that a person is invalid, a person is less than, and a person shouldn't exist, look into it yourself and find out if you agree. Because wouldn't you want people to do that for you? Anyway, this video is probably not helpful. I just want to try to reach an area that I don't know how to reach, and so I'm trying this, and it probably won't work, and I probably won't be seen by anyone but my sister, but that's okay. So I hope you're having a good day. I hope that this was in some way helpful. I'm sure it's not. I'll talk to you later. All right.